Because of a paternity report of a fake $1,000 from Vermilion Mole. The Buddhist son of the capital circle personally sent me to the north of Burma. 3 years later, he finally realized that the report was a forgery. Red-eyed, rummaged through the north of Burma, shaved his hair and practiced Buddhism, and guarded the Buddha hall to pray for me all day long, eating, fasting and reciting Buddha. But I have long become internationally renowned. Later, the Buddhist children of the Bayesian circle cornered me. With scarlet eyes. The person who forged the paternity report has been sent to jail by me. Forgive me. Okay? The cold and handsome chief diplomat, however, picked me up horizontally and raised his eyebrows disapprovingly. If this master her ass is my wife again, I don't mind letting you go to jail as well. When Leon slammed that paternity report into my arms and told me to get lost with a cold face, I laughed in anger and took out the newspaper and threw it on the table. Who is that woman you have your arm around? Let me guess. My wonderful sister. Your mistress? Before I could finish, Leon slapped me across the face. His eyes sinister. Say one more word about destiny and I'll sew your mouth shut. I fell to the floor. My cheek swelled up and a roar went through my ears. I sneered and raised my hand to grab Leon's collar. But in my afterglow, I saw Destiny standing outside the door with her arms around my own son. At the sight of my eyes, Destiny cringed, one eye filling with tears. Leon, I'm sorry. We're not here at the right time. Before I could say anything, my son interrupted her, stepping in front of her and looking at me. You crazy woman. You don't want to hurt Destiny. My hands gave out, and I looked at the child in front of me that I had given birth to 9 times, and all I could think about was how pale my heart was. Leon was very strict with Isaiah, often scolding the little guy to cry. Sometimes I looked at his poor appearance a little unbearable. We'll secretly take him to the amusement park. The little guy is very happy. In my face kissed. He will always love his mom the most. But then Destiny told him that Leon was being strict with him because he loved him, and that I was being cuddly in order to nurse him back to health. And he believed it without hesitation. He knew he was mine and Leon's biological son. And yet he still didn't hesitate to help forge such a paternity report. In a trance, Leon kicked me hard in the small of my back, then wrapped his arms around Destiny's delicate, soft waist and looked at me like I was a dog. Upstart. You'll do anything to marry me. My son tugged on Destiny's coat corner, looking at me with a face of disgust. I don't want to be your son. I only have Destiny as a mom. I covered my throbbing belly. The knife wound in my abdomen seemed to split open. Blood runs down the side and Leon just glances at me. What are you doing again? When Leon and Isaiah were attacked last month, I took the knife for them and fell unconscious on the floor. What did they say then? I went into a bit of a trance before my eyes, remembering the gentle and guilty look in his and my son's eyes, saying that they would protect me and never let me get hurt again. Now they were uncharacteristically protective of Destiny, looking at me with wariness, as if I were some kind of villain. I was redundant. Even after all I had suffered at the hands of Destiny's real parents. Even after Destiny had occupied my life for over 10 years. Even after I had done nothing. Everyone was still afraid that I would steal Destiny's life. I realized this and stood up shakily, blood still flowing from my abdomen. Leon looks at me with more than a hint of shock in his eyes. Something's stirring in him. But Destiny steps in front of me, clenching her teeth lightly, inadvertently revealing the scar on her neck. Leon. Isaiah. It was me who was overthinking. This is the life that belongs to my sister. I've been your telling for so many years. It's time for me to leave. The wound on her neck was cut by her in order to frame me. That poo acting, and everyone believed it. Sure enough, the glimmer of warmth in Leon's eyes was gone, and he looked at me coldly. Get out. I limped away, hearing Isaiah cheer happily behind me. Yay! Finally. Destiny's in our house. I'm the real one who got switched. Destiny's real parents tortured me at her behest, preventing me from going to college. I begged them on my knees. I kowtowed. But all I got in return was an even worse beating. By chance, I learned of my birth parents. With the meager expectation of a blood relationship, I knocked on the door of my birth parents' house. It was Destiny who opened the door. My biological father's biological mother asked who the visitor was. And Destiny glanced at me and smiled back. Just a beggar. The door was slammed shut, and no matter how much I knocked, no one came to open it again. I spent the night kneeling in the rain and knocking on the door until my real mother found me the next day. And when I tugged on her coat in a death grip, she let out a gasp of surprise. And my real father kicked me out of the way like I was a piece of trash. It's your daughter. I struggled to say the words and woke up again, lying on the carpet of my biological parents' mansion. Destiny hugging her biological mother and crying. My biological brother comforting her. And me lying in the corner, still looking like a piece of trash. At that moment, the little tiny bit of expectation I had in my heart for this biological relationship was completely shattered. I'm just scared. Scared that my sister will come back and you won't want me. Oh, I'm sorry. It would have been better if my sister had picked you up yesterday. My real mother gave me a look and hugged Destiny heartily again. Softly comforting. While my brother had stood up and looked at me condescending. You're nothing but a dirty beggar. Don't try to compete with my sister by pretending to be pathetic. Or else. Watch out, I'll cut your tongue. Tongue. I laughed, revealing my own blood-soaked mouth. And a tongue in my mouth that was cut in the middle and split into. The family screamed, shielding Destiny behind them, looking at me with horror in their eyes. Finally my real father threw over a card and told me to get lost and leave them alone. My brother, however, kicked the card under the couch. I was silent, trying to pick up the card that was my shortcut to escape the place. Instead he kicked me in the crook of my knee. Kneel over and pick it up. I got on my knees and moved to the couch one step at a time. Such behavior was normal for me. I would do anything to survive. The gap under the couch was so small my hands couldn't reach it. He wouldn't let me use the tools. I looked up at my real parents. They looked at me in disgust, and reached down to blindfold Destiny. The flesh of my hand squeezed, cracked, and bled from the tiny space. And when I finally reached the card, my hand was stepped on by my brother. He points to his crotch, looking at me imploringly. I get it. Kneeled, drilled through his crotch bit by bit, and limped away from the sister. I avenged you. Who let her scare you? Deserved it. To the sound of their laughter. How similar to now. I have no parents. No relatives. Even my only son hates me like this. No, maybe I still have relatives. The scavenger I met. I touched the $2,000 in my pocket and briefly bandaged my wound. I was a bit distracted, and rushed to take a taxi to the dilapidated little temple in the suburbs. Back then, when I was almost killed by Destiny's parents, it was here that I met her. That old man, who gave me her only leftover burrito, helping me through that bitter cold winter. But now, this place is still deserted. My heart began to beat violently. An intense panic gripped me, and I asked the man next to me. He looked at me with a strange face. This old lady was suspected of fraud and was taken to jail just a few days ago. Fraud? How can that be? How could that old lady, who couldn't even use a cell phone, commit fraud? I ran and cried and broke down when I saw that skinny little figure in the jail. She saw me too, and there was a glimmer of light in her cloudy eyes. Tatum. It's coming. Tatum. Don't cry. Rats crawled past her feet. And there were even a lot of leftover rat bones around her. The little old lady was most afraid of rats, shivering in fear at the sight of them, and had once been cheated out of the money she'd been saving hard for months to buy me a roasted chicken, in order to buy a sticky rat board. Now those people won't feed her. And she ate the rats she was most afraid of in order to wait for me. Tears fell down my cheeks, as if my heart had been grabbed and yanked hard in pieces. Grandma, I did this to you. I will save you. I know who it is. There is no one else in this world but Destiny. She took my life, my husband, my son. It's okay. It's okay to take it away, but all I have is Grandma. I knocked on Leon's door in desperation, and finally my son opened it. Isaiah, who once called me mommy in a soft and cuddly way, now loathes me and calls another person mommy. I take his hand and tell him I want to see Leon. He turns away and tries to slam the door behind him. But I tug on him tightly and end up flopping down on my knees. Please. Mom, please. I want to see Leon. He looks at me in surprise. A little overwhelmed. Destiny comes out and hugs Isaiah, who obediently jumps into her arms and calls her mommy. She soothes Isaiah, just like I once did, and looks up at me with pure evil in her eyes. Oops. What's this about, sister? Is it seeing the great gift I gave my sister? I clenched my teeth, the taut strings in my head snapping at the sound, and I kicked her hard in the back of the waist as she pushed my son aside, her tone horrified. Isaiah, get out of here. What a green tea. I raised my hand to hit her again when I was tackled hard from behind. It was Leon. I was flipped to the ground and the back of my head hit the sharp corner of the table, gushing blood down my face. But I couldn't care less. Crawling and clutching his thighs. Please. Save my grandma. Will you let her go? Come at me if you need anything. I'll work for you as a cow. I'm begging you. Leon kicked me away and hugged Destiny, giving me one last look back. You can kneel outside for a day, and I'll let her go. I nodded my head, lost in thought, a little hope emerging in my eyes, and stumbled to my knees in the snow. Today's snow is extra heavy. The snow is not over my knees. The people inside the house are laughing and chirping. 24 hours. Not a minute more. Not a minute less. I get up anxiously and fall back into the snow, crawling, banging my head against the front door of Leon's house. My grandma. She can't wait. And if she doesn't hurry, she won't be able to wait. Leon pulls the gate open with Isaiah in his arms and looks at me with a shock. They didn't think I could really kneel for 24 hours. You guys. Leave my grandma alone. Okay. Tears smeared all over my face as I couldn't stop kowtowing. I was wrong. I shouldn't have dreamed of having a family. I shouldn't have dreamed of having a child and a husband to live with me for the rest of my life. It's because I wanted too much. I don't want anything else. Please. Let my grandmother go. Isaiah's heart softened, and he reached out to try. Don't touch the dirt. You'll get sick. She lectured and wiped Isaiah's hand. Then she looked at me again. Sister. How can you be a mother and do this in front of your child? Leon. I want to help my sister. But the grandmother she is talking about is guilty of fraud. Leon's family can't harbor it any better. Can they? My heart went cold, and I looked at Leon slightly begging. Leon, however, nodded. Destiny's right. You're also less likely to be around fraudsters like that. No wonder Isaiah doesn't like you. I fell to the floor with a thud, my eyes sobbing blood. And the last thing I saw was Destiny smiling warmly and viciously. I will arrange a good place for my sister. Leon, don't worry. Between blurred consciousness, I suddenly heard a mechanical electronic voice. Host Destiny mission. Replaced Adam as the main character. Task completed. Waking up again, I found myself on a train looking at me from the ground, and I heard the train announcements. Destination North Burma. They want me dead. I couldn't think too much about it. I hurriedly opened my cell phone and tried to call Destiny, trying to beg her to spare my grandma. But all I saw were two messages. A picture and video from Destiny. I clicked on the picture with my shaking hands, and it was my grandmother. She was looking at the camera with tears in her eyes. Her hand as old as a tree branch stretched out. It was as if she was trying to grab something. But she didn't grab anything. She died. Slide down the page and flip to the next video. The video showed Isaiah hugging Leon, giggling and pouting. Daddy finally divorced that crazy woman. When are you going to marry Destiny? Leon rubbed his head. tossed a beautiful string of Buddha beads in his hand casually out the window, and waved at the camera. Destiny. Come over here. My lips trembled as I sat paralyzed in my seat, looking at the string of Buddha beads drowning in snow, and the cozy picture of a family of 3. That string of beads was the one that I carried 1-year-old Isaiah on my back to the temple, for more than 10 kilometers. One step at a time. When Leon's family changed and Leon fell ill, Isaiah was on my back, his hot tears staining my collar. After getting the beads, Leon was cured. Isaiah hugged me with joy, and Leon smiled and said that my sincerity had touched the heavens. Leon and I got married. I grew up alone, and my biggest dream was to have a little home of my own. I finally have a home, a loving husband, a cute son, and a grandmother who loves me. Now, my son calls me a crazy woman who can't wait to welcome someone else into her home. And my husband helped someone else by killing my grandmother, the only family I've ever had in my life. I don't have a home anymore. I recounted these pasts to the man beside me, my face as normal. The man fished a soft brocade handkerchief from his suit pocket and wiped away the teardrops rolling down my cheeks. I heard he regretted it. Yes, I heard that Leon later led people through the north of Burma and brought Isaiah with hair to practice for my blessing threat and not to marry for life. This incident is known to everyone. Countless people marveled at their father and son love. After all, I lost only life, but they lost love and affection. I wanted to laugh a little, looking down at the familiar scene of the airplane. Only this time, I was no longer alone. Back then I met Edwin when I was fleeing the train. I knew that was my only chance of survival, and clung to his thighs with a death grip and wouldn't let go. He had no choice but to tell me that he had to go to northern Burma to talk about a project and asked if I knew Burmese. I know 8 languages and was a hot commodity for every department in college. But I married Leon later. Later, I realized that Edwin was the internationally famous chief diplomat, and I was lucky to be able to follow him. So I followed Edwin year after year. And this is the 3rd year. I have never been bad at anything. And if I hadn't been forced to marry Leon, I think I would be a famous interpreter in the industry by now. But it's okay. It's not too late to turn back. He took me back to his country on a vacation from his back-to-back jobs. Only unfortunately, in Leon's city, Edwin smoothed the hair out of my ears. The net was wide open, and it was time for them to fall in line after so many years of being extrajudicial. Edwin and I went to the restaurant to eat. Edwin's expensive jacket was spilled with coffee. He went to the bathroom to take care of his clothes. I met Leon. Destiny. Leon and Isaiah to be exact. Rumor has it that Leon broke with Destiny and brought Isaiah to pray for me, regretting it. And now the 3 of them are sitting by the window, happily eating, not looking half as sorry as they should. I saw them, and they saw me. Shock filled the faces of all 3. And I saw guilt and heartbreak flash across Leon's face before Destiny finally opened her mouth first. She was blue and black under her eyes, and it was obvious she hadn't had a good day. It's good to have you back, sis. Leon and Isaiah miss you. After she said that, I heard the same electronic voice I heard then in between the drowsiness. Warning. Warning. There has been a deviation from the original plot. The heroine's aura is fading. Warning. Warning. I raised an eyebrow. I've read quite a few novels as well. And based on the last one, Destiny seems to have a system. Isaiah's big watery eyes filled with tears and lunged towards me. Mommy. Mommy. Isaiah misses you so much. I avoided his embrace in disgust. I'm not your mom. Leon blushes. Don't be ridiculous, Tatum. Isaiah is your own son. I snorted. I don't have a son like that. Isaiah drops to the floor incredulously and lets out a loud whimper. Don't you like Isaiah anymore? Mom, you said you would always like Isaiah. I know. He always thought I loved him the most. So all it took was for him to cry and pout, and I would forgive him again. Isaiah did. Leon did. But I don't love them anymore. Didn't you break your promise too? Isaiah? Isaiah's crying stopped abruptly and his face turned pale. I know how he hugged someone and cried out for mommy. And how he called me a crazy woman. Tatum. We missed you all these years. Leon got up and came to my side. Trying to play the emotional card with me. Edwin came back. Seeing this scene, Edwin raised his eyebrows and put his bony hands on my shoulders, sidling up to my ear, looking extremely intimate. Tatum, who is this? I was a little shocked, but quickly responded, feigning petulance. It's just a stranger. Honey, sit down and eat. This time it was Leon who was incredulous. The beads in his hand snapped, and he couldn't keep up the charade of tenderness any longer. Who is this? Tatum, you dared to cheat on me? I raised my eyes and swept a glance at him, carelessly pulling over Edwin's hand. This gentleman. Please don't interrupt me and my husband's meal. Can you? Leon's pair of eyes that look at the dog are full of hurt. Tatum. I know you're purposely trying to piss me off. No matter what. Isaiah and I are waiting for you guys to be your home. I ignored him and went straight to cutting Edwin's steak and feeding it to his mouth again. Destiny glanced at me before she left. That face as gentle and vicious as ever. She moved and said 3 words. Amara. My grandmother. A knife and fork in my hand bent momentarily, and I stared at her in death until I could no longer see the figure. Destiny. I chewed the name in my mouth as if to dismantle it and eat it into my stomach for a long time. I turned my head and smiled at Edwin. Thank you for helping me. Edwin smiled and winked at me. What are you going to do next? The best way to get back at someone is to take what they love. What does Destiny want? Power? Money? Sought after? I'm going to get my hands on all of it. I arrived at my birth parents' house again. And unlike last time, I wasn't as messed up this time. The reputation of my chief interpreter. The biological parents' home has long known. They do not need a daughter. Only need excellent daughters. I can bring revenue to the biological parents' home. I am their daughter. I lived in my biological parents' home. My biological mother hugged me and cried with red eyes. My daughter. You have suffered all these years. Mom is so heartbroken. It's good that we are by your side. I meekly hugged the woman with the face of a snake. Will mommy be good to Tatum then? That's for sure. Mommy will make it up to you. I smiled and pointed upstairs to Destiny's room. So mommy, can I stay there tonight? Mom's sobs gave way, and before she could open her mouth, my brother had rushed over and ripped me out of Mom's arms. I knew you bitches were up to no good. I followed his force and fell back, looking at my mom pitifully, pretending to be strong. Since my brother isn't welcome, I'd better go. Leon said he'd come to pick me up and take me home. I get up and head for the door, mentally counting 3. Sure enough, my father called out to me. Leon, didn't you have a fight with him? I hooked my lips and smiled, fished out my cell phone and dialed Leon's number. Leon, can you come pick me up? Leon was silent for a split second. Then Isaiah's voice came over the line. I knew Mom wouldn't abandon us. Mom, you won't not want Isaiah. Isaiah will be right there to pick you up. I stayed in Destiny's room. Destiny came back and made a big fuss. Her real mother had a few moments of patience with her. Her real father had half of none. It's just a room. Destiny. Can't hold onto Leon's heart. You're a loser. Destiny hasn't been in Leon's good graces since I left. And along with it, the stock of her biological parents' home has fallen and fallen. Not to mention the whole fake paternity thing. Leon, who had never married her, didn't bother to look at her again. And Isaiah, who only recognized her as a mother, had no patience for her anymore. They're starting to miss me. I've learned the hard way that what you can't have is what you can't have. After all, Leon and I were known as the happiest married couple in the world back in the day. The Cheongs and Beauty and the Kyoraku Buddhist son are still there today. Only the Beauty has been replaced by Destiny. And in the future, it will be replaced by someone else. I just stood on the second floor watching this happy family dog eat dog and bent my eyes. You see, this fragile, unbelievable bond. The next day Leon and Isaiah came to my biological parents' house to take me home. And I ignored him. The third day he put $2 million in my card and begged me to take his call. And I was in a good mood and sent him an emoji. And he wrote me a little 2000 and word essay. And I replied red. On the third day, he bought me a Rolls Royce, and when I signed for it I finally saw him and Isaiah dressed as a delivery boy. I found it uninteresting, and turned to leave. But Isaiah hugged my thigh and wouldn't let go. Mom, Isaiah is wrong. Destiny is not nice to Isaiah at all. She's the one who stirred up our relationship. Leon takes my hand and holds me against the car door. Tatum, please. Will you look at me? I was fooled by her. Isaiah, I can't live without you. Edwin raises an eyebrow absently at Leon as he rips the pegs from Leon's and my legs, shielding me behind him. This maestro. Please leave my wife alone. Maestro? I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Holding a Buddha bead all day. Isn't that a guru? Leon looked at me. His eyes full of begging. Showing me the knife wound on his arm. I really can't live without you. Tatum. Please. Let me be by your side. Okay? It seems that Leon has indeed had a bad time these past 3 years. Then I'm relieved. I smiled. Not good. I'm smart. I don't know how much better than Destiny. That loser who can't even catch a man's heart. Those were my father's exact words. He said he was going to groom me to be his heir. That Leon was now dead set against me. And that sooner or later the night fortune would be in the family of my real parents. I nodded my head obediently. The promise of an heir that Destiny hadn't gotten in 20 years of hard work. I got in 20 days. As I leaned into my mother's arms, laughing and snickering, Destiny was pushing her way in. My father praised me for being smarter than my sister. He even said he wants me to inherit the company. I pretended to say it without thinking. And I saw Destiny's ironic face. Destiny has a lot of suitors. And she thinks that as long as she can get those people's hearts, then I won't be a threat to her. But today I don't know how. Those suitors all to her ignore. She depressed to go home. Just heard me this show-off voice. Heart a burst of fire. Voice changed tone. You are only a small family from a small family. How can you inherit your biological parents' home? Looking at my aggrieved look, my mother did not hesitate to slap her. Can't you understand things like your sister? All day long, you're out fooling around. You're not afraid to get dirty even when you're served by so many men. Good scolding. In the face of power and strength, affection has to give way for it. This is the gentry. I silently nodded and innocently smiled at Destiny. Destiny should hate me even more. But I don't care. Hate has the same mesmerizing magic as love. Hate is just as fascinating as love. Hate is more direct and straightforward than love. And at least hate can't be disguised. Tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. The beach. Do not come, you will regret. When I got Destiny's text, I sent Leon the exact same one. And Leon is now my dog. A rabid dog that can better keep me safe. When I arrived, Destiny was standing on the beach. Her body thin, and her face annoyingly sunken. So I could tell that she had indeed suffered a lot. Because of me, my mother and father were no longer kind to her. And the only brother who was favorable to her was also bought by me with Leon's money. I also publicized the fact that she was a mistress and broke up other people's families. And no one in the circle wanted to get close to her. If she can't marry a good family, she has no value to her biological family, where her status is worse than that of a servant. From the big miss to everyone's rat. Can't adapt to the good otherwise still have to prevent her from rising again. At this moment, her eyes are full of scarlet and hatred when she looks at me. The more she hates me, the happier I am. Which means that my retaliation accurately poked her pain. Destiny looked at me and suddenly smiled, raising the box in her hand towards me. A sudden panic rose in my heart. A sense of foreboding rose. Tatum, Guess what's in my hand? She had a maniacal expression. It's your grandmother, Amara. My brain buzzed and I just felt the sky spinning. What are your conditions? I'll grant them. Destiny laughed harshly. Conditions? I don't have conditions. I just want you to be sad. I'm happy to see you sad. Ha, you take everything from me. I take your grandma. Fair enough. She opened the worn-out box and held up the ashes inside, laughing with tears in her eyes. My heart ached. My grandma. That amiable little old lady who never lived a good day in life and had no peace in death. It's me. It's all me. If I hadn't met me. Don't. My screams tore at my heart. As I watched Destiny throw the box of ashes into the sea along with the urn, my sanity completely disappeared and I rushed up to her and wrestled with her. By the time I came back to my senses, I was already holding Destiny down in the seawater. My men had gradually ceased their struggles. I jerked her loose. And she lay on the rocks. Her forehead bloodied from my impact. And Leon arrived. Tai Tum. You're finally willing to see me. He hurried over to me. He'd lost a lot of weight. His shirt was loose around him. And he didn't look as proud and haughty as he once did. Not much has changed. Just a yellowing of the face. But none of that mattered to me anymore. I walked away without looking at either of them. Leon looked at me, but suddenly fell to his knees. The sharp stone cut a bone-deep gash in his knee. He knelt, pounced over and carefully pulled my sleeve. Please. Don't ignore me. I really can't live without you. Isaiah gently took my hand, not daring to make a big move for fear that I would get tired of him. Mom. I know I'm wrong. I don't want you to forgive me. I don't want you to forgive me. Just can you come and visit me more often? Isaiah misses you so much. Under my constant PUA. Their guilt has been magnified to the highest point. Leon's self-respect and pride have been worn down to nothing. From begging me for forgiveness, begging me to come home, to begging me to see them, kneeling down and kowtowing to them. Living with self-blame and guilt every day was the most preliminary price I took back from them. Impatiently trying to shake the two men off, I crouched down and picked Leon's chin, looking at his wary face. Suddenly bored, I slapped him across the face. Want me to come back? Deal with Destiny. Leon was indeed a most obedient dog. It was only 3 days before the news came that Destiny was in jail. Her own father and mother didn't visit her. Were even ashamed of her. Not me. I'm going to watch her go to hell myself. She hated me. Through the bars. She was sobbing blood inside. You bitch. I want you to die. I'm clearly the main character. I laughed. Unfortunately, you, the protagonist, are going to hell first. Destiny may have been what crossed over with a system, guided by the system to take everything from me and become the protagonist. But it doesn't matter now. She and her system have lost. Leon couldn't wait to find me to take credit. Tatum, come home with me. I bought you a rose manor. Didn't you say you wanted it then? I interrupted him. Then what did you do? You loved Destiny. Didn't you? You ruined her life with your own hands. I don't know if what's happening to her now is my future. Leon's face was ashen. A light in his eyes faded a little. But he still asked. So Isaiah, your own son, you don't want him either? I looked at the kid next to me and smiled. He said it himself. He's Destiny's son. I sent Leon and the evidence of the crime and the documents of the biological parents' tax evasion to the police station. And when I got home, the biological parents pulled me in with joy. Tatum, we have a project, and we need to trouble you to talk to Leon about it. Leon loves you so much. This project is a matter of your word. Looking at their faces, I smiled back. Leon? Guess he's meeting your wonderful daughter tomorrow. The biological father's biological mother's face changed. What are you saying, Tatum? Are you kidding me? I pulled my hand out of my biological mother's hand. Leon is not a clean man. He's got a bunch of handles. Do you guys think I'm kidding? The biological father slammed the magazine in his hand on the coffee table. Angrily. You're an honor to have Leon in your life. You little brat. The biological mother's eyes tear up. Tatum. Leon has been so good to you. How can you be so kind to him? I looked at her with a smile on my face. Don't you know how good Leon is to me, Mother? I looked at my own father again. You don't have to worry too much about the situation at home. The biological father breathed a sigh of relief. It's also true that you still have a chief diplomat boyfriend. As long as he's willing to help us. I interrupted him impatiently. I mean, you can go stay with Leon too. My real father frowned at me. His eyes full of confusion. In a rare moment of patience. I explain. I'd also like to thank you for putting me into the company management. Or else you'd have a really hard time finding evidence of this tax evasion. The biological father still wanted to say something. So I smiled again and opened my mouth. If you have anything to say, save it for the police. The police took away the biological parents' family, who were handcuffed, but still wanted to turn around and come over to hit me. You unfilial daughter. I was so good to you. I should have let you die outside. I shouldn't have given you the money. Bitch. I knew you were up to no good. Why don't you go to hell? I couldn't stop myself from laughing so hard that I burst into tears. Being nice to me? What a joke. Every rainy night. My hand always hurt like crazy. How dare I forget that excruciating pain? How you all humiliated me. How you condoned destiny to steal everything from me. You all forgot. I held onto the wall like an evil spirit crawling out of hell. Of course I hate you all to death. Good riddance. All the people who hurt me finally came together in jail. Isaiah was adopted by a family I found. And in any case, he's not going to have much to do with me for the rest of his life. I couldn't have been blessed with a son like that. What shocked me was that Leon didn't cuss me out when he went to jail. According to Edwin, Leon was as pale as if he was dying, and said he was sorry and that it was all his due. I didn't go to see him. I can't say what kind of mood I was in. I probably felt sorry for him. The first time I met Leon was my sophomore year of high school, when I was working as a waitress in a KEV so that I could continue my studies. When I was harassed by an old man, he saved me. It's a very cliché story. But at that time I did have a touch of heart. We got together in our sophomore year. Leon chased me for 4 whole years. No one did not praise our love. After we got married we were also very happy. And soon had a child. People change. Let's just say things change. I told myself that. I left the city to be with Edwin. Edwin may have liked me. But I didn't have the heart to start another love affair. Edwin is very good. Handsome. His family is the second generation of government officials. In terms of conditions. In fact, I am not worthy of him. After all, I am divorced and have a child. But I am not bad. I deserve such a person to like. I deserve everyone to like. Leon has consumed too much of my passion and longing for love. I am not sure. Edwin will not be the second Leon. Edwin probably also saw my hesitation and gently held my hand. Don't be in a hurry to reject me. Okay? I will show you my true heart. I smiled. Then you'll have to be on your best behavior. Of course. As a reward for not rejecting me, I'll take you out for cupcakes. Translated with D. Pal. Calm free version.